Now let's quickly take a look at what has happened in the last 72 hours. There has been attacks, terror attacks that have taken place in 3 areas in Jammu. It started off on the very day when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi was to take his oath as the Prime Minister for the 3rd term. In fact, it was just an hour before the Prime Minister was to take his oath at 7:15 p.m. that at 6:15 there was targeted attacks on the tourists who were on a bus. And they were headed to Vaishno Devi Shrine, and they were attacked by gunmen, by terrorists. There were 9 of them who ended up getting killed. Let's take a look at all these developments. Attack 1, Reasi in Jammu and Kashmir, 9th of June, 6:15 is when the attack took place. There were 9 pilgrims who ended up getting killed. There are 33 of the pilgrims that were killed. This is the bus that fell into the gorge after the driver and the tourists inside the bus were attacked by these gunmen, these terrorists. This is the man, the sketch that has been released by the Jammu and Kashmir police of the terrorist who was on the spot, who shot at these pilgrims and the bus driver who were sitting inside the bus. This is in fact the bus ambush area. This is the location. This is where that attack has taken place. So it is 84.2 kilometers from Jammu and 297 kilometers from Srinagar is where you find Reasi. Let's take a look at the second attack that had taken place, and that was in Doda. That was on 10th of June. It happens at 2 a.m. This is in the wee hours of the morning, and there were 3 security personnel that were injured. Thankfully, there were no deaths of our security personnel that were reported. And so far, there have been, in fact, if you could take a look at the firing base, here is the firing base. This is the Chatargala in Doda. This is the exact area, and the firing that has happened on the temporary army base that had been set up. So a direct attack on the Indian Armed Forces. Injured were brought to the sub-district hospital where they were operated upon. The third attack that took place, in fact, before we go to the third attack in Kathua, here if we take a look at the map, and just to give you an estimate of where does Chatargala Doda is found is over here. This is the location. It is 92.2 kilometers from Jammu. It is 219.2 kilometers from Srinagar, and that's exactly where the temporary army base is located in Doda, and that came under attack by the terrorists who then disappeared into the jungles after having targeted. Thankfully, there were no deaths. Attack number 3 happened in Kathua. It was on 11th June at 7:30 p.m. That was yesterday at 7:30 p.m. that there was an attack in Kathua. There was this was an attack that was the target of the attack was the villagers, the local villagers of Kathua. Unfortunately, 1 CRPF Jawan was martyred in this attack. There was 1 civilian that has been injured in this attack. And if you could take a look at where does Kathua lie on the map of Jammu and Kashmir, and the exact area Hiranagar in Kathua was the one that was under attack. This is the entire area, and right here, this is where the villagers came under attack by the terrorists. These were the 2 terrorists, thankfully, that have been neutralized, that were identified and neutralized by the armed forces. And the distance between so these in fact are the locations. This is Kathua over here. From Kathua to Jammu it's 89 kilometers, and from Kathua to Srinagar is 284.4 kilometers. And now that we have gotten a fair assessment of how the situation had happened, the series of attacks that took place from 9th up until 11th, let's also try to have a word with a couple of my analysts who joined me on the telecast. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma on the telecast with me. And General, how do you view this situation? Difficult time, and also that these 3, is it just incidental that these 3 attacks have happened in the last 3 days, starting from the attack that took place in Reasi on the very same day, just an hour before the Prime Minister was to take his oath?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I think these 3 attacks must be taken in continuation to the situation that's been developing over a period of time below, that is south of Pir Panjal, which includes the areas of Rajouri, Punch, where also attacks have taken place some time earlier. And if you include the entire spread of Pir Panjal, south of Pir Panjal range from one side of the highway, which is that's Riyasi we saw, and also Punch and Rajouri. Then now we've seen Doda, and then south of Jammu, which is Katwa. So you include Hiranagar. If you include the entire spread of the affair, then it's obvious that the focus of operations has shifted from South Kashmir down to south of Pir Panjal range. And it has to be done deliberately and with a great amount of forethought as to why this changeover is happening. If one studies it this one, then over a long period of time, this area was considered as relatively peaceful in comparison to the areas of the valley.
Yeah.
And there were voids created, obviously voids created in the grid to redeploy forces into other areas, which became apparent and became more volatile in nature, especially the Chinese border in Jammu and Kashmir. And these voids have been taken advantage of by the terrorists and obviously by the Pakistanis, which control the entire lot of operations there. And this has now forced the security forces to make a reassessment of this area of Jammu region, Jammu enlarged region, as to how we will handle this area and the kind of tactics, which is the hit and run tactics which being employed by the terrorists who don't want to get involved into operations with the security forces, but they melt away. So it's a kind of hybrid terrorist which melts away and gets involved and get absorbed by the local population, subsequently hence tracing him out or it will become increasingly difficult.
Yeah.
So there is a new systemic being developed south of Pir Panjal, and the security forces have to now reassess and redeploy, re-establish grids in this area.
RVS Mani, as pointed out by General Rakesh Sinha, the fact that there is this new modus operandi which is coming as a pattern, as there are more of these terror attacks that come to surface, about how these foreign terrorists coming from Pakistan enter into India, enter into Jammu and Kashmir, and there is this local support that they are garnering as well. The overground workers, there are the locals, there are the local terrorists, and the fact that they know the exact location which are these areas to target. And as General Rakesh Sharma said, that they, as soon as they attack, they disappear into the woods. They know the exact location, they know the exact place that they can get into the safe havens of these areas so as not to be captured by the police forces or the armed forces.
This is the essence of terrorism. It's a non-conventional war. Non-state actors are used for this, and they will simply get mixed into the crowd, and you would never, under the erroneous impression that they will not be caught. But having said that, the first was a surprise attack, although it was very obvious that it was directed from Pakistan. The weapons used were of Pakistani origin, and now more and more things are the martyred. The post-mortem of the martyred people are also coming. Martyred, or rather killed, encountered terrorist militants also reveal the Pakistani origin medicines and all that. So on that issue of Pakistani hand in these attacks is known. And there is a systematic plan. And they are not able to penetrate into Kashmir because of the escalated or already heavy deployments there on both sides, on the Ladakh Chinese side also, as well as on the Indian. Now, so that is the reason they have shifted the goal. What is more and more disturbing is south of Pir Panjal. So far, they had always been restricted to either Jammu area, Riyasi, Rajouri, Doda, etc. Coming to Katwa, because Katwa is closer to the Punjab border also, and Punjab is also not a very, very safe state in the given context.
Yes.
So redeployment has to take a reassessment of strategy, and given that now the weather is more kinder toward for the northern belt, redeployment, reassessment of the strategy, and we need to absolutely take a new blueprint, new template to attack this, to prevent these terrorist attacks.
Absolutely.
The intelligence sources are already, recast the entire
General
template.
Rakesh, have we already been able to successfully form this new template to ensure these attacks become far and few in between? And if they happen, we are able to capture these terrorists, neutralize them, and prevent such attacks to take place?
So I think the process must be on, and the process could take a little time to establish, to have a good, there were 90s and the earlier part of this century, there were these areas of Gulabgarh and the areas of north of Rajouri, Puj, which are heavily forested and very thick areas, very difficult to operate across there, including in the areas of Doda. These areas were in distress in the 90s and in the initial part of the decade. Subsequently, these areas were cleared because of the grid established for anti-infiltration. But now it is evident that this area has been re-energized because of some voids being created. So a grid has to be re-established. Establishment of a grid is not a simple proposition. It requires forces to move in there to get to know the area, to get to know the people, establish an intelligence grid separately and an operational grid separately, and a grid along with the security forces, all of them amalgamated together. Because south of Jammu, the areas closer to Punjab, it is largely the police forces, the CRPF and all who are working. The army was lesser utilized in the areas of the areas between Pathankot up north up to Jammu. But now it is apparent that even Kathua, Hiranagar is being addressed. Then we have to reassess the whole thing again.
Right.
And I'm sure people on ground, the police forces, the intelligence forces, and the security forces, there are unified commands across there. They will meet across and assess as to what has to be done, and it will be carried out in a period of time.
RVS Mani, do you see the focus that has swiftly shifted from Kashmir to Jammu? Rajouri is the area where there was an army convoy that was also attacked. There were a number of our army personnel that had died in that attack. And again, you see a series of these attacks taking place, primarily focusing on Jammu.
Traditionally, Jammu has always been a more peaceful area, and there was all sort of a complacency on the state side, on the people side also. In Kashmir, it was always a high alert area. So, even now they are. This is a strategy by the Pakistan to divert, so that we shift our guards from Kashmir to Jammu and then counter, because Jammu infiltration is nearer to them. Pakistan politics rests on that. Pakistan government survival rests on that. So once they try to divert our attention towards the south of Bir Panjal, they may also recommence, because August and all, they may also recommence when there is a huge quantity of Amarnath Yatras. See, they have also attended the Yatras, specific Yatras. For example, the first attack in Katra was, Rayasi was Yatri, a pilgrimage group. So now in the month of August, there is a huge inflow of pilgrims to Amarnath Yatra and all. That time the alert has to be the highest, and that is in the valley. And ironically, it is the same route right from the Jammu Assembly base camp. The convoys go on up to Sonmarg or up to Chandanwadi or wherever, Pahalgam or wherever. There are two routes for that. So now itself, even while reaffirming or recasting the template, these are all factors. I'm sure the intelligence people, they are very wise people. The strategic, the unified command there is also a very strong presence there. So they will recalibrate, because these are all three surprise factors. See, there was a nebula over the political leadership, a new leadership. The same leadership was coming back again and taking charge. So that time, some sort of a guard lowering is a very natural process. I'm not blaming anybody for that. So the political leadership, when it takes second guard or third guard or whatever it is, the diversions are somewhere else. So that is the thing which is being used. By 2-3 days, they will all consolidate. The Minister CCS, the members of the CCS will meet again emergently, and I'm sure they are going to reinforce the strength now at Jammu, later in the course of time at other places, so that the entire area is, both Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory, is secure. That is what is my assessment.
Okay, all right. On that note, I thank both of you for joining me on the telecast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.